Something big is happening with banks, leading many to believe a big short type scenario is upon us, with experts expecting 500 banks to fail in just the next 2 years. We're going to break that down, explain why time is of the essence. Stay until the finish. We're going to reveal why this is just another bullish catalyst for Bitcoin, as well as where Bitcoin's price could be in just the next 10 days. Hey, it's 2024 and banks are more volatile than Bitcoin. We got a lot to cover. Let's get it. Okay, so yesterday I woke up, I was doing my news hustle, and then I came across this and made the post. As banks were green, they flipped red, and I had to start diving because, well, we already know about New York Community Bank Corp, but this is systemic. They said Bitcoin was volatile, but just look at these banks. Sometimes when you go down the rabbit hole, you won't like what you find. And here we have top real estate CEO Scott Recker describing how regional banks are going to face a slow-moving train wreck as waves of commercial real estate loans mature in just the next few years. Quote, "I think there's going to be 500 or more fewer banks in the U.S. over the next 2 years," he said. "I'm not saying they're all going to fail, but they're going to be forced into consolidation if they don't fail." And then we've heard, from JP and others, 2.6, 2.7 trillion commercial real estate, and the fears with that and the exposure to these banks are not unfounded. New York Community Bank Corp being the prime example, as shares have plummeted 78% from their July 2023 peak due to concerns over the bank's, of course, commercial real estate exposure, and the pain accelerated after NYCB reported a surprise fourth quarter loss on January 31st. As we said, this looks like it can be a systemic issue, something with contagion effects like the '08 financial crisis. And Recker went on to describe the doom loop that many regional banks may face as depositors start to worry that regional banks with this exposure are in trouble. They're going to begin withdrawing funds. And this loss of deposits, coupled with the increasing cost of compliance and insurance to all the commercial real estate lenders and the regulatory pressure, will lead to more bank failures. And then getting more into it, if more banks fail or are consolidated, they will complete the so-called doom loop. We've heard Lavish and Foss and people talking about this before in relation to the debt cycle. These things are connected. And Recker also warned that if steps aren't taken to unclog the financial plumbing and create some liquidity, price discovery in the market, the crisis is going to be exacerbated. Banks are experiencing what could be the biggest disaster in my lifetime for sure, and probably in many others. And some may think this setup may have been intentional to push people into central bank digital currencies. And if that's the case, we need Bitcoin more than ever. And absolutely, we want no one out there to end up like this.
We no longer had access to our bank account. So we had $0 and 0 cents. And, people were getting wires out 1 minute and then 10 minutes later, the whole system shut down. I had started the process of moving some of our funds out just to make sure that we could cover payroll if something were to happen. My employees, they have mortgages, they have children, they have families. Like, these are people that I need to make sure that they can get their paycheck. That's the most human cost of any of this. So that was the scariest thing for us, for sure.
Another thing to bring to light, and this is why things are, maybe time is of the essence. The BTFP loans expire and they're not going to renew them. They end on March 11th. So if banks can't access liquidity along with big holes in the books, this is not good, because those unrealized losses then become realized losses, and that's when things start picking up momentum. And here's fingers crossed for these guys. They think $1 billion shot of liquidity is going to save NYCB and there won't be any bank runs. Well, good luck with that, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, now let's switch gears and let's cover what led to the Bitcoin crash just the other day. I'm going to let Scaramucci take this, but it appears that, who knows, maybe Satoshi had to pay his rent and had to sell a little corn. He's taking care of some business deals. Maybe he got in deep with the sharks.
It looks like some wallets had released Bitcoin that were mined in 2010. So a big whale out there decided to dump his Bitcoin into the market.
Massive amount of Bitcoin mined in 2010 was dumped on the market, but ate up. Go to the daily or weekly and look at that wick going down to support and coming back up. That's usually a good sign, at least in the fact that the demand is very much there. And it's going to continue to be ate up quick. We have seen gold and Bitcoin really rising. There is somewhat of a decoupling going on. Have to see if it's maintained and continued, but if this is the early rumblings, that is a big deal, and that's probably what Kiyosaki is talking about here. Bitcoin on fire. The biggest mistake you can make is to procrastinate, important to start, and he has been one, some say doom and gloom, but with this convergence of events, I think it's safe to say in some regards, the fiat writing might be on the wall. If the fiat writing is on the wall, where do you go? Just like Larry Fink, Michael Saylor, Stan Druckenmiller, Paul Tudor Jones, you flee to quality. Gresham's law is in effect. BlackRock and Fidelity now own a combined nearly 300,000 Bitcoin worth $20 billion. It's not even been a full 2 months yet, has it? And they increased their holdings by 15,000 just yesterday. As the macro scenario gets a little darker, we can see what happened with Signature Bank, Silicon Valley Bank. What has happened to Bitcoin's price since then? Bitcoin is not only an inflation hedge, it is the hedge. It's the thing, and it does well during periods of deflation or periods of uncertainty. This is why Bitcoin is doing so well right now. And as more and more people start to move into this system, they're going to start to reap the rewards of that system and understand the incentives, the benefits of hard, sound money to the individual, to the company, to the business, to the culture of that individual or business, and then overarching into society. And Jeff Booth just breaks that down. And we are on the cusp of this. I think hyper Bitcoinization is coming a lot sooner than many of us think.
So think about what happens when people march down the street, break windows, turn over cars, light cars on fires and everything else, and then go back home to sleep. Where did the money come to fix all that stuff? And it came from their actions making the system stronger. And so when you're fighting within that system, you're actually strengthening that entire system over you. But this is something for me that I realized that I was a hypocrite in Bitcoin because I had a hedge in Bitcoin, but I was spending all my energy in the existing system. And that was a really hard moment to realize that. And as soon as I shifted all of my energy into the new system, it was just abundance everywhere. And you guys are part of it. And that, I suspect that can't be stopped because more and more people are going to see it, and more and more people are doing the same journey that we all did. And they might be at step one of that journey, but they're all coming over eventually. And that every one of those people make the existing system weaker over them. There is no system of control if you don't believe it.
And another legend ushering this in and really being the man on the forefront of this institutional adoption of Bitcoin, Michael Saylor and their play. And he's doubling, tripling, quadrupling down. But we got to get into why are they winning so hard? They're a stock, but how did they become so valuable? Now near 1,300 in stock price, absolutely destroying Wall Street, about to enter the S&P 500, which will then put Bitcoin by proxy in anyone's portfolio exposed to the S&P 500. But let's check this out. We got some questions we have to ask, and it involves the Kramer.
Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. I wouldn't question that guy. He's
you.
gotten it right.
Yes.
I mean, say what you want. MSTR, MicroStrategy stock up obviously sharply because it is essentially a proxy for Bitcoin. And he's, selling another 600 million worth of...
It's getting convert to buy more. Yeah, always
Bitcoin.
Good to tell ahead of time that you're buying the biggest order so you get a nice price.
Hey, guy's been right.
Yep. It's better to be lucky than good, my friend.
So when it comes to the bankers and these financial analysts, sometimes you got to ask yourself, are they stupid or are they evil? Well, it depends on the group or individual, but the answer is yes. For example, some things are just dumb, they're harmless at the end of the day, but others are a little more insidious by design, just by nature. This creature from Jekyll Island is the parasite leeching the wealth from the populace, destroying the middle class, and leading the country off a financial cliff. Don't think they're evil or bad or have bad intentions? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this from Finance a Lot. The level of corruption at NYCB yesterday was astounding. At 11:45, senior management announced they needed $1 billion right before employees and retail were on lunch. They allowed people to panic sell down, 42% down, without halting until 12:33. Just 2 hours later, they announced the $1 billion was acquired. So, I mean, you tell me, what kind of corruption is this? It looks like the proof is in the pudding. Have you ever heard the phrase, the gripes go up private? Meaning that they go up the line of chain of command until what? Just like Silvergate, Silicon Valley, and this got trickled up and all the toxicity trickles up. This is what happens. But those who are paying attention and those who tend to make moves with the inside information, well, let's take a look. The Walton family just sold $4.5 billion. Part of that to cover Russell Wilson's bullshit contract. Thank God he's out of Denver, and good riddance. Jeff Bezos sold $8.5 billion. Jamie Dimon, $150 million. Zuckerberg, $40 million. Buffett selling. Something's up, and they're sitting on a large cash inventory over there at Berkshire Hathaway. Might want to pay attention. And yes, we have a national debt of $34 trillion, and it looks like it's rising $1 trillion every 100 days or so. Add to that the delinquency rate among large banks hits 3%, the highest in 11 years, and the delinquency rate among small banks hits 7.8, the highest ever recorded. See, some are thinking that we may be on the verge of a bond default, the debt spiral. Well, that sounds familiar. We may be in the midst of Greg Foss's thesis playing out. Let's roll it.
Within my lifetime, oil and natural gas are priced in Bitcoin because I'm an engineer and I believe it's the most logical pricing mechanism. Does it mean that the U.S. loses U.S. reserve currency status? I hope not. If the USA is smart enough to embrace Bitcoin, it could also maintain U.S. reserve currency status. What will get debased is U.S. reserve asset status, which is U.S. treasuries. Bitcoin will replace U.S. Treasury bonds as the global reserve asset. All of these are part and parcel of a progression. When will it happen? Look, I can give a target, but not a time. I'd be a fool to do both. But think about the law of conservation of energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Understand that this is why Bitcoin is the solution for so many different things in this world.
We're about to get to the big reveal, but before that, let's get a minute to recognize our sponsors, The Bitcoin Way. Guys, time is of the essence with banks on the verge of a big crisis, and not to mention Bitcoin flying off exchanges. You want to make sure that you get your Bitcoin off those exchanges and into self-custody. That is the revolution. And we got just the guys to help you get started on your Bitcoin journey. Simply Bitcoin Originals are powered by The Bitcoin Way. They provide comprehensive Bitcoin self-custody solutions and peace of mind to anyone, everyone, anywhere. Wallets and nodes, inheritance planning and multi-sig, coin joins, UTXO management, cybersecurity, and much more. They're going to help get you from that why Bitcoin to how Bitcoin, and they'll walk you through it, hold your hand the whole way through the process. If you're interested, you want to get started, you want to master Bitcoin self-custody, you can schedule a free 30-minute call using that link below. All right, now let's get started with the big reveal. Do you guys remember when Powell said there will be certainly some banks that have to be closed or merged out of existence because of this? That'll be smaller banks, I suspect, for the most part. You know, these are the losses. It's a secular change in the use of downtown real estate, and results will be losses for the owners and for the lenders, but it should be manageable. I guess we will find out. What I really want you to take away from this is, from the banks and NYCB, realize, like others, that it's like being on the Titanic and there's not enough lifeboats for all the passengers. What is Jay Powell left to do? He's got two options, and that is one, resume QE and buy a one-way ticket for all of the US to Weimar land, or two, totally pull the plug and go through a painful but inevitable cleanup of the financial system. Now, as things stand now, it's an election year. I'm going to lean towards Weimar land, and that is extremely bullish for Bitcoin. Actually, either way, it's bullish for Bitcoin, and this is why. U.S. debt at $34 trillion with no path. Absolutely none. Not even a fraction of an idea to maybe make that a real priority at all. Regional banks, not just weak, soft as baby shit, BTFP ending soon, interest rates going down as inflation can't be contained, ETFs online, halving in less than 50 days? Yeah, the bat signal is imminent. Okay, so think about this with the multiplier. We had that episode with Samson Mao about 3 episodes back, but 1 billion a day in new demand should create 100 billion in new market cap daily, and that's enough to move the price to 117K in just 10 trading sessions. So Krueger thinking Bitcoin will come close to doubling a week ahead of the typical Bitcoin doubles 18 days after it hits a new all-time high. So Krueger, very bullish right here. Buckle up, strap in, ladies and gentlemen. Get those sats frosty. Prepare your heart, prepare your mind. Realize we're in Bitcoin and the new all-time high is imminent. And when this happens, we know the Fomo and the time frame from past cycles between doubling and tripling even within 100 days of hitting the new all-time high. This is extremely bullish, and we now know on March 11th, the BTFP is set to end. So banks fail, bullish for Bitcoin, or they fire up the money printers again, which is also bullish for Bitcoin. Not to mention the supply shock is going to get even shockier when the halving occurs, which is going to cut the supply of Bitcoin in half. It's happening. Take it away, Scott Stapp. You know why the streets are made of gold? Because it got demonetized. Hey, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Be sure to like, subscribe, share that sound money gospel. Give us a pump. Hey, follow us on Telegram, share your memes, and maybe you can get on the daily meme review on Simply Bitcoin Live. And if you're not tuning in, what are you doing? It's on Monday through Friday, 12:15 Eastern Standard Time. You don't want to miss the #1 Bitcoin only live news show. Down below, we got links to our Substack and also our Twitter, where we're getting all the latest breaking news. Set those notifications, keep tuning in, keep following, and we will be your guide through the separation of money and state. I'll catch you all Saturday. Peace.
Prefer to go down with the ship? Fuck you.